Maurice is so passionate about helping people build healthy interpersonal relationships and healthy marriages. Hello and welcome to the show, Maurice.
Thank you so much.
And our second panelist is Edith Wanyonyi. Edith is a counseling psychologist, passionate humanitarian and mental health enthusiast. She's an ambassador at the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness and also a Global Goodwill Ambassador. Hello and welcome to the show, Edith.
Thank you so much, Katinda.
Okay, now in our conversation today, we will be sharing, educating, and talking about a hot topic, which every young person watching will get the insights of how to navigate and protect their mental health when their relationships break down. And before we begin, how are we feeling, Maurice and Edith? How are you feeling this evening or this? Oh, it's obviously daytime over there. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm Maurice. I am feeling so fine and excited. Relationship, just like we said, is one of the sweetest activities of humans. So I get excited talking about relationship, being involved in relationship, as relationship is something. In fact, it is a basic activity of human. So it is something I cannot do without. It is something we cannot do without. So I
Right.
am excited being involved in relationships. Thank you so much.
Okay, what about you, Edith? How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling so great, so excited, looking forward to this conversation because, as human beings, we are interconnected. We live daily with relationships. It's something that we cannot avoid. So I feel so great and excited, yeah, and looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
both joining us this evening. It's evening right here and it's daytime over there. And I believe we're going to really get deep with this conversation because there's a lot of questions that a lot of young people want to know. And so the first question is, how do you define a heartbreak? Because we're talking about relationships, so we're talking about heartbreak here. How would you define heartbreak?
So can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Uh,
Yes,
I'll define a heartbreak as like, for example, let me give an example of a very beautiful vase, flower vase, or a glass. When it falls down and breaks, it literally comes to an end, and it's so painful.
wow.
So I define a heartbreak as something very beautiful, and then like under a relationship that is so beautiful, and then it comes to an end, and the feeling of great sadness and emotional suffering that a person goes through. Yeah, it's literally a feeling like grief that crushes someone. Yeah, that's exactly how I would
Wow.
define a heartbreak.
What about you, Maurice? How would you
Wow.
define a heartbreak?
That's so exciting and amazing from Edith. Exactly, that is what it is. Just using her instance, a flower vase broken, it shatters. That is how I define heartbreak too. It is that situation that occurs. It is that feeling you have when you've lost somebody very close to you. Sometimes you feel so depressed. You feel like everything is ending at that particular time. You feel like you are the only person who lives on the whole planet Earth. So it is something very, 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 very bad. It is a very bad feeling to really experience. And that is why even when some persons engage or when some persons experience heartbreak, they go ahead committing suicide because the experience is so bad and terrible.
Right.
So it
Now,
is something I would not even want to wish my enemy.
right, but you do know
Thank
that's
you.
human nature. It happens to everybody, and it's almost like part of life.
Of
You
course.
can't always imagine if you always everybody
Yes.
that you meet you were in a relationship with them until I don't know. That would be really interesting. So moving on, we know that everybody in this world at one point in their lives will go through a
Yes.
heartbreak.
Yes.
What are some tools that can help young people equip themselves if they ever encounter this experience. So, what are some things you can tell them? What do they need to do to prepare themselves? Because sometimes we get caught unawares, like somebody breaks up with you, they didn't give you warning, they just disappear, and you get sad, you get anxiety, you don't eat. So, what are some tools we can equip young people with? So, if this ever happens to them, they somehow know how to deal with it.
Okay, first, I'd like to say that it is normal to go through a heartbreak. So it's not like it's an experience of one person. So it's very normal. And some of the things that young people should do is by respecting their emotions at that particular time, and not repressing their emotions, and not being ashamed of their emotions, because these feelings are very normal. So by acknowledging that they are feeling sad, they are feeling angry, it's very okay. So they should just acknowledge their emotions and give themselves time to heal and go through the process, because this is the process. You've lost someone you deeply loved, someone you shared your time, and you shared almost your life with them. So take their time to go through the process, because it's almost like a process of grief. So and it takes time. So going through the stages of grief, and just trying to avoid the triggers, for example, the places and the people, the old photos. Avoid those triggers. Be objective about your healing. Yeah. No, so you should be very intentional that you want to heal, and be objective about it, like exercise, read uplifting books, surround yourself with people who uplift you, and also just talk about it, because you realize that these are time whereby people would want to shut themselves up, but shutting yourself up won't help. So it's very important to talk about it. Look for people who you can talk to them, like friends, family, and even you can look for a therapist if it's too hard on you. Then be productive. You can be productive by engaging in the community, giving back to the society. The love that you had put in that relationship, you can extend it to others also, and also find things that interest you, like your hobbies. Yeah, thank you.
Right, right. So, and why is it so painful when a relationship comes to an end? What is it we lose?
Yes,
I think we
you
lose.
know, go
Sorry.
ahead, Edith. Go ahead.
I think we lose our identity mostly, because in a relationship, most of the time you tend to have an identity with this other person. So when it
Yes.
breaks, most likely you lose that identity, and that's mostly what crushes us, because you're no longer yourself. You're moving from we to me now, and it's so painful at that time.
Okay. What, Maurice, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think in a very similar way from what Edith with what Edith is saying, she said we'll lose our identity. Yes, in confirmation to that, I feel we lose our friendship. And now one of the worst things to happen to you is losing a friendship, especially a valued friendship. Now,
Right.
in losing a friendship, you're also losing identity. And in losing identity, the sense of losing a friendship is that that communion, that communication is broken. That lovely experience is broken. The good times we had together is broken. And now when you remember all these things, remember the sacrifices you've made in this you that this will happen, despite all I've done for him or her. So
Mm-hmm.
that could set in for a regret. So these are some of the things that we lose, that we think we are losing in a relationship. So that is how it is.
And why do some people seem to move on so much faster and others, take longer when a relationship ends? Why is it
Yes,
some people like,
exactly.
especially with
Yes,
guys, which
yes,
seem
yes,
like if I
yes,
break up
yes,
with a
yes, yes.
guy, you seem with someone else, like pretty much like nothing happened. But with
Of
women,
course.
we take a longer time, we cry, we hibernate, we disappear from this earth. Nobody sees us for a long time. Why does that happen?
Well, that's a very good observation and a very good question. Yes, exactly. You know, there's a saying that says that men are naturally polygamous.
Right.
Now, at some point, I don't subscribe to that. But what is, and what will be is, and what will be would be. However, men are being polygamous are also hunters. Naturally, men are hunters. We love adventures. We love to read why, okay, or that is why, okay, relate to the biblical story. When Adam saw Eve, he said, wow, woman, part of me, out of me. Adam reached out to her. So naturally, men are hunters. Now, you would not be crying over a spilled milk because there are so many others around. You could easily reach out to them. There's so many others waiting for you to come in. Many others waiting for you to say, oh, just, oh, hello, that's enough. But you as a lady, you may tend to, you feel like, I'm rejected, and ladies hate being rejected. So men are natural hunters, and it gives us joy. I'm now speaking not as I'm not speaking not as an observer, but I'm speaking as what I am, as a guy, as a man. It is
Right.
fun when you reach out and you win, you conquer, you are happy. Thank you.
Interesting. Edith, what do you think?
I think that's
Oh
very
dear.
interesting. Okay, I'd say that it depends. It depends with both the lady and the man, because here there are also some ladies who move on very fast. So I think it depends with
Yes.
the investment put in the relationship. Maybe some are not serious with their relationship, so moving so fast for them is not a problem. And then there's also personality. So there are those people with a personality that they thrive on emotional connection with people. So such kind of people will find it very hard to move on, as opposed to those people who are very independent. They'll move on so quickly. Yeah, so personality also really matters. Yeah.
Well, I also believe just because women are emotional, so we tend to, wow, I don't even know. It's just a very tough one sometimes because when you're in that place and that's you who's either left the relationship or you've been left. And as Maurice said, we don't like to be rejected. We take that really personally,
Mhm.
which is most ladies anyway. And I think sometimes this always happens for a reason because maybe the people you're with are not the right people for you anyway. So
Yeah.
it's part of life. It's like maybe you were testing the waters, you were not serious. What is it you want? What type of meaningful friendship or relationship are you having? And maybe, as you said, it depends what people are doing. If they're not really interested and they're just passing time, then they will move on faster because there's nothing meaningful about it. Yeah. So, and where are some, so for example, with young people, who should they speak to and how do they start a dialogue about a relationship breakdown without feeling judged, without people saying, oh, it's just in your head, you're not the only one, it happens to everyone? Because we get a lot of that. And I know a lot of people have been through that situation where they've had a breakdown or breakup with someone and they don't eat, they don't have a shower for so long, they don't speak to anyone, they go into that sort of like anxiety, depression mode. Who should they speak to and how can they start that conversation?
Young people can speak to trusted friends,
Yes.
not only friends, but trusted friends, and also family members who are trusted, those people who can uplift them and just help them get out of this situation. And also, it's important to also look for a counselor or a therapist that can help them go through the process. Yeah.
But I find young people, like even some young people, even adults, that is a very difficult conversation because maybe they trust people, but the minute the person does a judgment on them, they
Exactly.
shut down. So if I come to you as a trusted friend or family and I say, look, this is what happened to me, and then you say something like, oh, you'll get over it, don't worry about it, just give it time. So you've dismissed me, you've judged me, then I've still left with the problem. So where to from there?
So in that case, I would suggest that they look for a therapist, because a therapist is one person will not judge you. You'll be able to walk the journey together. Yeah, and you'll find help.
What about the fear of speaking to somebody who you don't know? Because a lot of young people, again, have that problem. Like maybe they don't have the money to pay a therapist. Maybe they don't even feel safe because it's a stranger. There's so many barriers. How else can they break that barrier?
Exactly.
What can we do to help them? Because I'm sure the people watching this will be thinking, that's me. You know, I don't want to speak to anyone because of my past experiences with being judged. I don't have the money. So now what? Where to from
Yes.
here?
That's a very good one. That's a very good one. I think we have two options here, and either of the two are best or okay. It's either you go for a counselor or a friend. Now, the point, just like we all pointed out, is that counselors usually you pay for it, you pay for the service. But a friend, it's because this is your friend, you know the capability of this person, and possibly as a friend, there is this confidence, there is already an existing relationship for you to even open up at first time or in the first place. So I think it's the two way. It's either you go for a counselor or you a friend. As long as you are comfortable with that person, I think with this a sort that will settle it.
Right, right, right. I was just reading one of the comments. I see someone saying they disagree with you. It depends on the individual. So I'm not sure what that question was. So there's a comment there.
Yes.
So
Okay, to be fine to know the question. Maybe he or she may
yes, please, if you just send us that question, please, can you please ask the question again so we kind of understand what the question was? Now,
yes.
moving forward while we're waiting for that, so we're talking about young people again. You know, this is all about young people having this dialogue about relationships and heartbreak and where to go to get help. So, what are some fears that people feel when the relationship comes to an end?
Exactly.
One is the fear of being alone, just that
Yes,
you're used to being with someone, and then suddenly you are alone. So that's one of the fears. Then there's a low self-esteem because you break. So your self-esteem and your ego is threatened. So you break, and you'll be asking yourself questions such as, who will want me? Will I ever find love again? Then there's also just that being concerned about what other people will say. And so you're afraid of breaking up because you're concerned about what other people will say, and also you're afraid of losing connection, because
right.
when you're in that relationship, maybe there are other people you are connected to, like family and other friends. So you are afraid of losing the connection with also other people.
The
Yeah.
network. Now, going back, the question the person has asked, what if there is no one you can trust? So that goes back to the question, who do they speak to if they don't trust anyone? What happens?
Okay. Okay, that is a very good observation and a very good question. You know, I attended a seminar and the point was the power of the self, the human mind. Now, for you to achieve anything, the conviction must come from the self, from the person, from the human mind. Now, in answering that question, we must not underrate the powers that lies within our mind. Sometimes you may not have to reach out to somebody, you may not have to reach out to a friend, but with conviction within your mind, you can settle whatsoever relationship issue you have. So even if you don't trust somebody, you could be strong with strong resolute within your mind, and that could go a long way in helping you out.
Yeah, but how do they do that? You know, Maurice, it's easy to say it, but what are the steps to do that?
Now, first is that one of the first ways to do that is you must believe in yourself. If you don't trust anybody, you must believe in yourself. And Now, like a philosopher once, and at the end of the day, he came to realize that, oh, the fact that I am even thinking of myself. So it begins with the self, it begins with you. You must first of all trust yourself. Now, when you've trusted yourself, that ushers you in to want to read more books, to want to reach out to persons, and all that in order to improve yourself. And once you believe in yourself, you see yourself doing certain things because you already believe in yourself. That is conviction. So the first thing is quite difficult, but the first thing is believing in yourself. And once you believe in yourself, you would want to reach out to improve in yourself.
Right. What about
Thank you.
Edith? What do you think?
Wow, I think it's very sad that someone cannot have a trusted person to speak to. But if that's the case, it's very important to be objective about your healing, because this is about you. So being objective and just trying to look for ways that you can find healing by yourself, like what you said, like just giving yourself time and and trying to be objective and being productive. So you can do that by engaging in community activities and just doing things like exercise and being very, very objective about healing, because it's very important. This is yourself you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think on that point too, one thing I find works really good for me, not only just when you have a relationship situation and you don't trust anybody, just in your own, in everyday life, we have days which are really difficult or very hard, whether it's your work, your boss, or just things go wrong. And I believe in journaling. So people who can trust themselves more by writing down what is the problem. So basically you get a piece of paper and you write, for example, you write, okay, I broke up with, let's say, Maurice, right? So I broke up with you, I'm sad, I'm this, and I can't talk to anyone else because maybe we had the same friends and all the friends are your friends. So what can I do about it? So I write down what are the things about that relationship that I don't like, I didn't like. What are things in that relationship that I really liked? So you just analyze all those things and then, okay, now you realize, why did we break up? What was my part or contribution to why this failed? And once you start to go into that self, you kind of maybe start understanding and laughing, thinking, oh, maybe this was not even for me in the first place, because you discover yourself. And I think it's more about people going into self-discovery, because
Yeah,
really, if there's no help, guess
self-discovery.
what? You've got the power, like you said. You've got the power to think,
Yes,
okay, what can I do to heal myself? What are the steps? And that's why I was trying to ask, what things can people do, like practical things? And I think starting to write those kind of things can start the healing journey. And then you start questioning yourself and answering yourself as well. Yeah, so I think we've got,
exactly.
somebody else said, you trust yourself, but after opening up to someone else, he or she, okay, let's see what, he or she takes you for granted. Yes, people are like that. It's very hard. You don't know what people are going to do with what you say to them. So you can't control
Exactly.
what's outside. You can only control what's you, what you've got control over you, but not,
Within.
yeah, not other people. So moving on, what is a healthy way? Now, this is a big question, which I've worked for so many years on this question. What is the healthy way to end a relationship that has lost its fire? What are your thoughts, guys? I know this one is, I love this topic. I like this question. It's just amazing.
That's actually interesting. That's so interesting to know. Just like few days back, I had a discussion with teens and youths. It was still on relationship. Now, anything that has a beginning definitely has an ending. And then change is
Yes,
constant. Relationship
yes.
grows like human beings or like organisms. And at a point, they also break down. They also end. So it is important that we know that nothing is permanent and change is constant. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay, so now I think we should have it in mind that at a point in time, what we've started may also end. So if it ends, we should know that this is nature. Change is constant. And if change has happened, then we should know that this is what we should be expecting. But we should do our best actually to maintain healthy relationships.
Yeah,
That's
but how
that.
do we end it? How do we end it in a respectful way?
Yes, that's
Um,
good. How we end it again. You know, sometimes when we know that this relationship is not really compatible enough, gradually, assuming I am in a relationship with you and we talk to each other every day, I chat you up every day, the activities we do, gradually, I could decide to make the call just once a day. If it were two times, I could decide to make it once. If I chat you three times, I could decide to make it once a day. Gradually, it is going down. The flavor is reducing. The
Right.
flavor of the relationship is reducing. Would, without the other person maybe not even recognizing it. And gradually, it will definitely go down.
Okay, so that's a good one. Okay. And what about Edith? What do you think? What is a healthy way to finish or to complete a relationship?
I think it's very important to be honest. Be honest with yourself and also with the other person. So be clear. You can call them and look for the right time and the right place to end the relationship. uh, a place that does not have any distractions, and also be just respectful when you're speaking to them about it. So just talk to them, be clear, and also be prepared. Be prepared for what may come out, because when you're telling the other person the relationship is ending, you have to be prepared for the emotions, such as anger. They may burst out, they may cry. So you have to be very prepared for that, and also just get support, and also get support and grieve the loss. Be
Right.
prepared to grieve the loss. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We've got a question, and the question is from Mandu Gloria. She says, my question is, in as much as we know our relationship would end someday, should we always live with the fear that it would end someday? Maurice, you addressed that. So it's
Well,
interesting. So you
we
say it's
should not live. Yes. This is part of nature. Everything has a beginning, has an ending. But we should not live by the fear of the end. We should not live by the fear. But the point is, we should be open enough and we should know that this may end. And one thing with this knowledge of the end, it prepares you. Like we all know everybody gonna die one day. And if you know you will leave this earth one day, then you should prepare yourself. And in preparing yourself, you see yourself doing the best, living out the best out of life. Like I tell people, there are often times people say, I'm keeping this in a relationship. I will tell you 2 years' time. What if the relationship ends today? So I
True,
think the
true.
basic is, yes, the basic is the moment. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's
Yeah, I
live in the
think,
present.
yes, yes. I believe in that
Let's live in the
too.
moment. Yes.
Yeah, I believe in just being in the present moment and not fearing about what tomorrow's got, because we don't have, tomorrow is not promised to
We
us.
don't have
So
tomorrow. Yes.
yes, so it's basically making the best of what you've got right now and not worrying about, unless you can see the signs of something that's going to make it come to an end, then that's different. But then if you're living your best life right now, I don't think you should live in fear. You should just release the fear and enjoy the present moment with whoever you're with. Now, going back to what we
Yes.
were talking about before, about how to end a relationship, I've got a few thoughts about that. I am a big believer in, like Edith was saying, being honest with yourself, but also being honest with the other person. Now, the fear with that
Yes.
is, like women, we don't like to get rejected. So that can be very dramatic. And I've been in conversations with men who say they'd rather ghost the woman or just disappear or stop picking up their calls or just totally cut them off, because they say women, we are
Wow.
crazy. So if a man breaks up with you, you might go to his house and burn his house down, break his car, do all those crazy things, because some women do that. So a
Yes.
lot of men have said they'd rather gradually, like you said, two texts and then now it's one text, and then before you know, they disappear. That's a nice way. But others just disappear. and they just cut you off completely, block you off social media, block you off, and you just like they're wondering. and obviously, what my thoughts are about that kind of crazy is because somebody must have lied to someone. Because if you're honest and you don't, you're not misleading me with the conversation, with where we're going with this relationship, I don't have a reason to go crazy. But if you wasted my time and I didn't see that coming, then as a woman, if you go crazy, then the men know that. So they avoid the crazy by disappearing. But being emotionally mature, that is not the right way to do it, because that means that's a pattern. What are they running away from? It's always going to be the same for everybody they meet. They will never be able to be mature enough to communicate their needs, their wants, and be really real. So I think anybody who wants to really be mature about it can have a dialogue. From the day you start having a relationship, you start having an open conversation. You never have things you're hiding, or, there were sometimes you expect the other person to know what you're thinking when they don't know. So if you have an open dialogue from day one, and even, I think this is just my thoughts, when you start a relationship, you open from day one saying, look, if we find out this is not for us, can we try to be respectful about how we're going to end it the same way we started here? So we don't have to completely go neurotic and crazy and hate each other and abuse each other and never want to meet each other, because one day you might cross paths. I mean, that nowadays the world is so small. I was traveling one time. I had a friend I'd not seen for like 20 years, and I was in Dubai after 20 years, and I bumped into her. And what chances in the world is that? So imagine if that was somebody I'd run away from, or they'd run away from me and they were boyfriend or girlfriend. We are there. So now what? So yeah, so there's a lot of different things which are crazy. So moving on, I think we have another question before we continue. Okay, so we have another question here. So how can we know when the person we want to be with or the people we get attracted to are compatible with us?
How can we know? That's very good. That's a very nice question to ask. We really want to know as human beings. However, it is important to know. But then I usually tell people the first thing is opening up, be friendly, make friends, and every relationship must not last so long. So for you to know if maybe you're compatible with this person, if this relationship is fine, sometimes at the first instance, you get to know, oh, this will make a good relationship because your values are attracted by the values of the other person. So that's one. But basically, when we make friends with people, when we are open enough to make friends with people, as we interact, as we communicate, we'll see we are binding each other, or we create this bind or bound within us. And before you know what is happening, it flows. I tell people you don't need to do so much to keep a relationship. It flows, it is natural. That is because you are compatible. But when you are not compatible, you need to do extra to keep that relationship. So at first instance, especially, you get to know from values that attract you from that person. But we must be open. Thank you.
Okay, Edith, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'd also just like to reinforce on the values, like you should be sharing some of the very basic values, even like religion, some of the things that you like, and also how do you regard each other? Are you someone who is self-centered, or can you give room for the other person? So that's also another way to know if you're compatible. Also the intellectual compatibility. What kind of person are you? Are you compatible? That is intellectually. Are you able to solve issues and ideas in a thoughtful manner? Do you share the same interests with this person? Because you may be two very good people, but if you don't share interests, then you're not compatible. Also, are your personalities compatible? Yeah, because if you're relating with one person whose personality is an extreme or totally different from yours, then you'll find that you're not very compatible. Then how do you relate with each other? Are you authentic in your relationship, or are there some things that you're hiding from each other? So if you're not authentic, if you're not congruent, then you realize that you're not compatible. And also, or being just attracted to each other. If you're not attracted to each other, that is, if you don't find a reason to find time for each other, or even physically attracted to each other, then that tells you that you're not compatible with this person. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I like that because I like the one you say about what skeletons do you have in the closet? You know, you have to bring them out. Otherwise, that can bring. But the interesting part with that is most people don't talk about those skeletons because they're afraid that the other person might just judge them and decide, no, I can't deal with that. So a lot of people I find hide their skeletons anyway until they're very deep in a relationship. And then at some point they realize, I can't hide this any longer. I have to bring it out. And sometimes that creates breakups because if you're not ready for it and you're like, why didn't you tell me? Some people are happy to be told this. Some people don't want to know. So it's an interesting one. And the other thing too, I know for sure, if you meet someone and they don't have self-esteem and you have self-esteem, you're super incompatible because people who have low self-esteem, they're dramatic. They have insecurity issues. They're always just they're very sneaky with things. They never show themselves. And because of that, they create a lot of drama. So if you, let's say you're a girl and your man comes home late and you're insecure, you start wanting to grab his phone. You want to see who he was talking to. You start thinking he's cheating on you. You know, there's so many things. And the same thing goes for guys. So I think for me, I always say, check the self-esteem from day one. So if your self-esteem as a person is questionable, you have to work on yourself. Because then there's also this aspect of, especially I'll just give an example with women, we are always looking for Mr. Right, but there's a big problem. And actually I've got a book called The Big Comeback and I talk about relationships and I say, that's the one thing we do. We are always talking, oh, I'm looking for Mr. Right, or the right guy's not been born, or all these kind of things. But the question is, do you have the qualities of Mr. of what you're looking for? So you want somebody with all these nice characteristics, you know, tall, whatever, all the good things, but are you that person as well? So my thing is, write a list of what would you like in a man or a woman? And then look at that list and look, am I that person too? Because they say you attract who you are. So if you're not that person, why do you expect, like I say a lot of times, why do you want to attract somebody and mess them up? Because you're so messed up and you haven't figured your stuff out. So you need to work on your self-esteem. You need to work on your confidence. You need to work on your, you know, on your honesty, integrity, all those things. Because a lot of people don't have those qualities and they expect to have a relationship that works. And most times the reason why relationships don't work is because of mismatched values and all those games that people play as well. Yeah, Boris, you wanted to say something.
Exactly.
Did you want to say something? I saw you
No,
were getting excited that.
you have it all. That's a very good one. That's a very good one. Go ahead.
Yes. So I always like to give people something practical to try, you know, because, you know, we can talk about it. It's exciting. It's fun. But what can they do if that's the kind of thing they have as a challenge? You know, the practical tools to practice so that you can get yourself as a better human being, really. Okay, so here we have another question. What examples show that your mental health is affected when a relationship comes to an end?
Wow, I'd like to say that when a relationship comes to an end,
That's a very
they're
good one.
yeah they're very, I mean, there are these things that we go through that are very normal, like anger and feeling sad. Those are very normal. But if they if these feelings prolong for a period of time, like for let's say 6 months and ahead, then we could say that your mental health is actually affected. So prolonged feelings of sadness and apathy, and also severe emotional distress that extends for a period of more than 6 months, feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, that is losing weight, because either you've changed your eating pattern, either you're eating too much or too little, so your weight is affected, and also sleeping too much or too little. And when you lose pleasure in things that you used to enjoy before, then we could say that your mental health is affected. We have the feelings of worthlessness, feelings of feeling like you're not worth, nobody else loves you, like you have suicidal feelings, and also you have fatigue and loss of energy. Yeah, we could say that your mental health is actually affected.
Right, right, right. So what about Maurice? What do you have to add to that?
Wow, you know, Edith is a psychologist, and she did justice to that.
She summarized it
So
really well.
that is extremely amazing. Thank you so much, Edith, for that. And I think you've said it all. You've said it all. But sometimes that could just be withdrawal from usual activities. And once there is withdrawal, you know, there could be overthinking. You are thinking, what will I do? This, that, and it's your mental health. So that's a very good one from Edith.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So, and how long should someone wait before they get into another relationship after breakup?
Well, actually, I don't think that there is a time frame for you to wait. There is no measurement anywhere that says, oh, you must wait for 1 week or 2 months to get into another relationship. Just like we pointed out earlier on, relationship grows and it also dies off. So, but the basic is once we are open enough with people, once we are friendly with people, relationship continues. As we are going off of this relationship, we're entering in another one and we are also in another relationship. So the relationship is part of us. So there is no particular time that must be waited upon for you to engage in another relationship. But however, one basic question we must ask ourselves is why did I break up in the past relationship? Oftentimes I tell people we must learn from the mistakes we had in our past relationship. Oh, my partner was complaining that I nag too much and all that. So I should try to work on myself in as much as I want another relationship. So consciousness, awareness helps me do this better. So I think once we realize why we ended the previous relationship, it's good to engage in another relationship because no man is an island. Thank you so much.
Edith, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's no time frame set, but it's very important to take time, because this is a process.
Yeah.
Breaking up is a process, so it's a process of grief. So just like losing a loved one, just take your time to heal, and also to give yourself time to adjust and look for ways, and just ask yourself, like Maurice has said, what went wrong and what can you improve, and also just give yourself time until you've healed completely, so that you're able to move into another healthy relationship. Because when you jump into another one, which is a rebound, it even becomes worse than the one you were in before. So just give yourself time until you've healed completely, then you can move on to another relationship.
Yeah, I like something you
Yeah.
said before too about don't stay, like I know, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel anxiety when you break up. It's okay to feel all those feelings because that's just human. But it's not okay to stay there for too long because as you said, if you stay there for too long, then it's changing the dynamics of what is normal and what is not normal. And also the other thing I like about just this conversation is I feel, you talk about healing. How does someone know they've healed and they're ready for the next relationship? At what point they feel they've healed? Because, it, as you said, it obviously you can't break up in, a week's time in a relationship unless, because you can't heal in 1 week. But how do you know you've healed and you're ready to be out there looking for love or attracting love?
I think you've healed when you actually not affected by it anymore. Like you can be able to talk about it and it doesn't affect you emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a point that that I've actually healed, when you can be able to speak to that other person without being emotional at them. Like you can be able to sit down with that other person who you broke up with, and you're able to have a normal conversation just like a friend. Then you'll know that at this point I've now healed and I'm able to move to another relationship.
It's interesting. I have this ritual that I believe it's like a silent prayer. And what I say is you bless the person, and this is not on their face. So whoever it is, you've broken up with them, you're not in their space, you're not with them, you're not SMSing, you're doing none of that. So in your silent prayer, you bless them for and hope them the best. You don't want to wish them evil or anything bad, because a lot of people always go, they resent the situation, they've got all this heartache and everything. So it's for you to release yourself and to forgive yourself and to forgive them for whatever it is, I always go, you just bless them. And you say it in order you can say to yourself, or even in front of a mirror. You can call the person's name. So if it's Maurice, for example, I'll be saying, Maurice, I release you because, maybe I'm still holding on. That's why I'm fighting all this hurt and crying. So I release you and I wish you well. Maybe even I could say, I love you, just to release you and also release myself. Because if I don't do that, I'm always going to hold on and always think, what's a trigger? Oh, I see. And then obviously I think sometimes if you're not strong enough, I think also deleting all the details, delete the number, delete all that, just cut it off. If that is easier to just get you to move forward. Because some people hold on. So every time you see you go on your phone, you see a trigger. You see the picture, you got trigger. So if all those things, if you're not strong enough to go past that and just have it there, get rid of it. Just finish it and just clean, start afresh. Because they say cleaning is the beginning of something new. So you can't hold on old things and expect to have anything new happening to you too. And just on one note here, so when a relationship ends, the overwhelming emptiness is not the other person being gone. It's the lack of self-love. Your self-esteem takes a big hit when you break up with someone. And I'm a big believer that taking time to be with yourself, by yourself, just like I said before, writing things down, what didn't work out,
for yourself. What
could I improve, and what am I looking for in myself? Because when you work on you, you become happier. You attract, they say, how can you, and I think this is most people, including me, I used to be one of those people. I didn't understand love. So obviously when you don't understand love, you're always hurting other people and you're always getting hurt because you don't even know what you're doing. So I think it's really starting with yourself, loving yourself, work on yourself, because once you know what love looks like, what love feels like for you, then you're open to the world and you can share because now you know the experience. But when you don't know what love feels like for you, you'll continue hurting other people because you just don't know what's going on. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yes, that's perfect. And that's so true. Absolutely.
Yeah, like you cannot be able to love another person if you don't love yourself, because what will you be giving? Yeah, so it's very important to spend that time with yourself, love everything about you, because now you've been broken. So pick the pieces and try to make something beautiful out of it. Then that's how you'll be able to extend that love to other people.
Yeah, because I believe every relationship is a lesson to be learned. There's something you're learning from every breakup. And some people never get the lesson, and they say you'll keep repeating the lesson until you learn what you were there to learn. And once you learn it, then you can get it better, because otherwise we find people keep repeating the same thing. Like, for example, a girl would attract the same type of guy. So if it's a guy who is abusive, doesn't respect her, is, one of those crazies, or if it's a girl or vice versa, they seem to attract the same type. And that's because something is not right somewhere, and because they're not learning the lesson and they're not taking time to understand themselves and see, what exactly do I want from life? What do I want? Because is it just a relationship, or do I want more than that? What is something meaningful? And I believe a lot of people get into relationships without knowing why they're there, because everybody else is doing it. Like say, I think Maurice, you said keeping up with the Joneses before. So it's like, why are you in a relationship? Because your friends are doing it. It's like the people get married because everybody else is getting married. Now that's just recipe for disaster, because you need to be clear with yourself. This is for me. I want it, not because it's cultural, not because everybody else is doing it, because I feel I want it. So it's all about our personal needs as well, instead of other people's expectations of us, which is what most people do. And that's why people jump, because also women, first of all, we have this thing, we're afraid to be alone so much that we'd rather be in a bad relationship than to be single.
Than to be alone.
And that is just a very common thing with women. So sometimes you find, oh, at least you've got someone say, oh, this is my husband, or this is so-and-so, just to have like a handbag. It's not really, you're not even in it, but because you don't want your girls, everybody maybe is married and you don't want to be left out. It's true. It's true. And that is not good for your mental health, because you're lying to yourself. And when it fails, you're the one who's going to be really dramatic because you are there for the wrong reasons. Yeah. And so that's why I say, people, when you work on yourself, your mental health, your confidence, your self-esteem, your integrity, who you are, And then also, what do you like in life? It's not just about relationships. Relationships are one part, but what about you as an individual? What is it you like in life? What are some things that make you
Yes.
happy minus your relationship? Because another thing I find very interesting, people say, I'm looking for a better half. I'm looking for another half. Well, you're not half, you're already whole. So you're looking for someone to complete you. Or what is this? And then people say that I want someone to complete me. No, they can't. God made you in your uniqueness, and you came here as a whole. And so when you meet with somebody else, they complement you, not complete you, which is
Yeah.
something very common with a lot of people. So yeah, that's something I like to insist on. Yeah, you're not a half, you're a full person, and you're here as a unique human being as well. Yeah, so before we
Yes.
conclude, because I can see we've got another 7 minutes, what are some ways to have a healthy relationship? What are three things people can do right now, starting right now, to start healing their journey? So assuming somebody watching this has had a heartbreak, they're feeling sad, they're unhappy, and they're stuck. What are some things they can actually start doing like right now as a process to just get in the healing journey?
Well, that's very important question, and it's awesome. We need to talk about it. Well, I think importantly, we must, just like you both pointed out, that is one, intentionality. Why do you want to get married? Why do you want to be in a relationship? When you've given the right answer for that, then the second thing I want people to know about is give out what you seek. You want a man that loves you, you want a man that cares for you or about you, then go about loving yourself, go about loving other people. That is why at the end of the day, the measure you give is the measure you receive. Even if not now, in the nearest future, you'll find yourself in a better relationship where you are loved. So I want to end there with saying, give out what you are seeking for. Give. You want
Wow.
love, give out love. Then
Yes.
have a reason for being in a relationship.
Wow, love that. Love
Thank
that.
you.
What about you, Edith?
Yeah, I think communication is very important. Like, be clear, be intentional, communicate clearly what you want. Immediately you get into the relationship. So know exactly what you want and communicate it to avoid disappointments. Also, be intentional, like state exactly what the relationship is, where are you heading to, so that you may avoid all these dramas. Yeah, I think that's very important, communication.
Right. Now, Maurice, where can people go to find more information about the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness? Maurice, are you there?
Yes,
I think he's frozen.
Global Youth, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
All
hear
right,
you.
Global Youth Mental Health is okay. Yes, you can always reach us online on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I said you can always reach Global Youth Mental Health Awareness online. On Facebook, we are there. LinkedIn, we are there. WhatsApp, Instagram, and the rest of them. So I think if somebody really wants to connect with us through the Facebook, we can share other links to get in touch with us.
And what do people who get in touch with the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness expect from that organization?
Well, I think I'll be speaking from experience myself. In the nearest just 3 to how many months, the lot of experience I've gathered from this organization, I don't know if someone somewhere will get such from other organizations. I just want to be very specific. As a volunteer or as a member, I became a volunteer. As a volunteer, I am the project support officer. I became an ambassador. I've had a certification on first aid, mental health. a lot of certification just within few months. And the basic is the knowledge or the certification from the first aid I attended. This has enabled me, or this enables me, to identify stress and the management of it, to identify mental health issues of persons, and then possibly the best way to give out help. A lot of people are engaged or involved in a lot of issues, mental issues. They really need somebody to identify and talk to. So with my knowledge from GYMHA, it has equipped me to a greater extent to identify these issues and then offer help. The help I'm offering could be channeling them or telling them, call so person, and that is saving life. So I really encourage persons to get in touch with us, and the experience you get, you will never regret it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And what about you, Edith? Tell us a little bit about you being an ambassador for GYMHA as well.
Well, it's a very, very interesting place to be, and GYMHA is so enlightening because you get to connect with different people. You get great experience with regards to mental health, and recently we've been having a workplace mental health course that is ongoing, and I personally completed it, and I can say that it's very enlightening. So in case anyone wants to complete the course, they can also reach GYMHA through the links shared so that they can get to understand what workplace mental health is all about. Yeah, GYMHA
Well,
is a great place to be in.
thank you. Thank you so much. So that's all for today. Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, Edith, for your insight and for sharing those amazing tools that we can all use to improve our relationships and live in harmony with each other. Thank you for being a fabulous audience and for watching the Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Show. Until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.